Okay, welcome back. Let's call this part 53B of the haul truck build. Yesterday I posted a video, part 53, and I talked about a couple of things. Getting the broken head studs out of the A3 head, and also about this air suspension build and a screw up that I had made when I had laid out the angles for the piece that I was going to use on it. So, one of the comments that I got on this thing was from Brian Block, and I really respect Brian, very good mechanic, engineer, a good person to listen to. He had told me before, when I had started trying to do this air suspension, that I should probably go out and get one out of a salvage yard. And I kind of said to him, it would be probably impossible to find one that would fit this particular build. Now, remember that we have the frame out of a Ford F750 1974. I have an axle out of who knows what. I really wasn't told what it was out of. I kind of thinking it came out of a bus, but an axle out of a bus, and I needed to try and figure out a air suspension off of who knows what to fit that application. So one of the things that is daunting about this whole situation is the salvage yard that I use is huge. And when I say huge, it's huge. And this is no kidding. If they probably have in the neighborhood of somewheres between 5,000 or 10,000 trucks that is salvaged in this place. Anywheres, it spreads a gamut of, let's not say pickups. They do have a couple of pickup trucks there. But basically, it's anything above a pickup truck up through semi-tractor trailers. And they do have other things there too, like excavators and loaders and stuff like that. But what it is, it's very overwhelming. You're not allowed to go out into the salvage yard by yourself. You have to have somebody go with you. And kind of what one of my hang-ups is I didn't want to waste some guy's time just driving around looking for something that may or may not have been possible to find. The other thing is sometimes you get this feeling when you're in control. If I was building it, I know what I could do, what I couldn't do, what my capabilities of doing are also. Going out and looking for something, you're kind of throwing your knowledge out the window and relying on somebody else's to tell you or help you find something. And as we all know today, if you go into an auto parts store and you ask the clerk for something, they don't have a clue of what you're talking about until they look at the computer. And basically, if you go to most auto parts stores, the guy behind, and usually it's a kid, behind the counter probably wouldn't know a spark plug from an oil filter unless he was seeing it on the computer screen. And then if he's waiting on you and some hot chick happens to walk in, you get friggin' dumped so that he can wait on her. And that has happened. Like the kid had a chance of getting laid from this girl. But anyways, So that's not the case with Casey's, and sometimes you go into Casey's and the place is huge and there's a lot of people there looking for things. The phone is constantly ringing with customers looking for parts for things. And you kind of get overwhelmed by the magnitude of the entire situation. So, with that being said, let me tell you what happened. Brian left a comment on the video again that I posted yesterday saying the same thing. Man, you should go to a salvage yard and try and find something instead of messing around with this thing yourself. So I kind of got up this morning and I responded to him and I told him that, you know, if I found something even close, instead of having 2 contact points that I had to modify or build, I might end up with 6 contact points to modify it to get the front and the rear suspension or the thing that I found on each side modified to fit it. And then I would have to do the axles too. So I might, instead of having 2 places to modify or build, I might end up with 6 places to modify or build. So anyways, let's get to the point. I went to Casey's this morning and I got there very early on Saturday morning, and when they just opened, and there was no customers there, and the guys were just kind of milling around doing things. There was one guy that was out trying to get a cab off of a truck. But I went in and talked to the guy, and he came up with something. He knew exactly what I was doing, and he, right off the top of his head, said, yeah, I told him what I had as far as the frame, as far as the axles go, what I wanted to do, what I was doing at the trying to do right now, and he knew exactly what I was talking about. And he says, yeah, I think your best fit would be off of an international on your application. So he had one of his employees go out with me and take me around and show me some international frames. And I'm going to show you a clip right now of the first one that I looked at, and it was buried in weeds. So let's go to that right now. Okay, so we're back. Even though it was buried in weeds, I took some measurements on it, and it looked like it might work fairly closely to what I had. The only problem was that application was a bottom of the axle mount instead of top of the axle. See, my situation is a mount on top of the axle, not on the bottom. In other words, it mounted on top. So he says, well, yeah, I was just showing you that because I knew that was a bare frame and whatever. He says, I've got some more over here. Let's go take a look at something else. And I'm going to show you that clip right now. So as you can see, the second one is a top mount. And it is very close to fitting exactly the way that I have to do it. Now there is probably going to have to be modifications. All of this stuff has to come off of here, these spring brackets and everything, and then the new brackets that hold that thing on there is going to have to be adapted to this. Now, where it fits and how it fits in there and what kind of holes or weakening that I have on here because of all of the holes or where the old bracket was mounted, I might have to modify the frame somewhat or double the frame maybe in that location to fit the brackets onto. But I gotta tell you, it looks like it's gonna work out. And so I bought it. So I gotta tell you, Brian, I should have listened to you right from the beginning and done this. But then again, you never know. I might have walked into Casey's back when you originally told me to do that, and Casey's being the salvage yard. I might have walked in there when you originally told me that and got a different guy and a different guy that would drive me around, and I might not have found anything. It just happened to work out that I went in there when they weren't busy, and I found something. And what I did is I bought it. It's not, I don't have it yet, but I will be picking it up sometime this coming week. Should have listened to you, Brian.